What is going on, guys? Today's video is about crossover athletes and or celebrities that I would like to see in the UFC. First and foremost, guys, forgive me for my nasally voice. I'm still struggling here, but I do feel a lot better, and I appreciate the few of you guys that actually reached out. All right, let's move on. Obviously, we have Steven Seagal up here, Master Steven Seagal, I should say. And even though he didn't compete in the UFC, he had a lot of influence in the UFC, training greats, UFC legends such as Anderson Silva, Pereira, and also Lyoto Machida. Now, I know you guys think I'm joking about this, but Master Steven Seagal, or Sensei Steven Seagal, had a lot of influence in the UFC. He brought a lot of eyes to the table, or to the TV rather, not to the table, to the TV. And overall, I would have loved to see him fight in the UFC. Maybe it's my sadistic way of thinking that, if Steven did actually fight, which he's never really done, we would see an exposed man and all of his delusions would go out the window. Or maybe he would actually know how to fight. Who knows? Maybe he was, as good as he thinks he is or was. All right, let's move on. And guys, we're not going to be doing this thing with CM Punk. Okay, I feel bad for CM Punk. I know he was a crossover. The guy is genuinely a nice person, it seems, and he sucked, and he was a terrible athlete, and he was never known for his athletic abilities in the WWE. Let's be honest, he's not an athletic specimen. I should have put a picture of his body up rather than just shoulder up or chest up. The man is not built like an athlete. So we already had the CM Punk experiment. That went horribly wrong. We also had the James Toney experiment, and that went very, very wrong, even though James Toney in his prime was a legitimate boxer. But you put an old, lazy, out-of-shape boxer versus the natural, a guy known for his wrestling, for his grittiness, for his toughness, for his intelligence. Yeah, it's not going to end up too well. And obviously, it didn't end up too well for Mr. Toney here. I have some ideas, though. Here's my ideas. First, or second, we shouldn't be doing this Bruce Lee thing. All the respect to Bruce Lee, he wouldn't even fight in a male division in the UFC. He's tiny. He would be fighting in the female atomweight division with a proper weight cut. The guy's tiny, and he is influential in his time. I'm sure he was great, but he's another one of those guys that has never had a legitimate fight, nor any background in wrestling or grappling. So I don't think he would do that well. So I'm just going to dismiss Jackie Chan, Bruce Lee, Chuck Norris, even though I think Chuck Norris would do better than Bruce Lee in an actual fight because he is a jiu-jitsu black belt as well. And we're going to move on to a little bit more of, I want to say, creative choices. These are my creative choices, okay? And I know The Rock is old, and I know a couple of these guys that I picked are old. I'm talking about in their prime, okay, in their athletic prime. So The Rock stands at 6'5", 280 pounds. So he does have to cut around 15 pounds to make it to the UFC heavyweight division. He's 52 years old. He has a football and pro wrestling background. The guy is on something that the average person is not on. And hell, he might be on something that most bodybuilders are not on. He looks incredible, and he is quite the athlete. Especially back in his prime, he was quite the athlete. To this day, 52 years old, I think if The Rock gets 2 years of training, and I'm not even joking, but he gets his sauce. He gets his sauce. He doesn't have to get off. There's no USADA, there's no testing. He beats Shamil. Shamil's terrible. I think most people who are Shamil's size, with a little bit of training and conditioning past 2 rounds, beat Shamil. That's how bad Shamil is. I just got to hate on him for that. I don't know why I got to hate on the guy. He hasn't fought in a while. I'm just hating on him for no reason. But next, Jason Statham. He's one of my favorite actors. Maybe I'm absolutely biased. He's 5'9", probably 5'8", 170 pounds, 57 years old. Looks tremendous for 57. He was a former international level diver for England. So for Great Britain, he used to be a diver at the Olympics. He tried to go to the Olympics. He did fail at the Olympic trials, but he was a guy that was nationally ranked and obviously a top tier athlete in his sport. Yeah, maybe not in his sport, but maybe in his country, in his sport. Let's just say that. But Jason Statham, I think, would be one of those guys that would take training super serious just based on his background as a diver. And I don't know, there's something about him. He just looks like the guy. He looks like, you know that meme, you're not that guy? He is that guy. That's what I feel about Jason Statham. Maybe I got a man crush on him. I don't know what it is. But ever since the Transporter movies, I was like, this guy's a badass. He whips some ass. Let's move on, guys, to... You guys must have guessed this, right? Michael Jai White, 6'1", 220 pounds, 57 years old. Looks incredible, just like Jason Statham for his age. But this guy has a long history in martial arts. He has black belts like Kyokushin Karate, Inguju Ryu Karate, Shotokan Karate, Taekwondo, and Tang Soo Do. Now, I only know Taekwondo, Shotokan Karate, and Kyokushin Karate. I don't know the other karate, the Kojo Yuru Karate, and I don't know what Tang Soo Do is. But I assume Tang Soo Do is a Korean martial art as well. Guys, correct me in the comments below if I'm wrong. But Michael Jai White was a legitimate athlete. Like, you see him still training. Yeah, okay, his technique is a little bit like, not modern. It's more traditional martial arts. But if this guy was like 22 years old, 23 years old, with the drive that he has, with the physical ability due to his, body that he's been God-given, I think he would do good. And I think he would do pretty good in the early UFCs, because that's what his prime would be. I think he would smack around a lot of those guys, because a lot of those guys were jobbers and they just showed up. They were just tough guys that showed up. So I have these three picks that obviously are a little bit older, not in their prime. They've never really fought, so you can't really say how good they would do. But I have a prime pick. And this prime pick, no pun intended, is probably one of the most decorated athletes in the world. And I'm going to go with Terrence Bud Crawford. Now, Bud is 5'7", 155 to 160 pounds, walking around weight, 35 years old. So he's still relatively in his prime. If he was like 30 or like 27, he would be definitely in his prime. But he's 35 in his prime. He's a multi-weight boxing champion, one of the best boxers on the planet, 41 wins, so 41-0 with 31 knockouts. And at those divisions, the lighter divisions, if you're knocking out 75% of the guys you're fighting, you're incredible. I mean, you got not only the technique, but you got that punching power as well. Also, he was a successful high school wrestler. Now, feast your eyes on this, guys. I know a lot of you guys have probably seen this video, but some haven't. And if you want to see it, just type in Terrence Crawford wrestling into YouTube and it pops up. It's one of the first videos that pop up. It went pretty viral at some point. Terrence Crawford, at his boxing gym, gets challenged, a friendly challenge, by a Kazakh wrestling team member. And in his flip-flops, not only does he take the Kazakh down, but he pins him. Essentially, he makes him say uncle. Like, that's how good Terrence Crawford is. Look at that. He's got that thick chain on, the wife beater, jeans, and flip-flops, and he still out-wrestles the wrestler. How incredible would it be if we got Terrence Crawford at the age of 30 with a year or two of actual martial arts training, actual jiu-jitsu training, and a little bit of, change to his style of striking for MMA. How incredible would it be if we had him in the UFC? I would be so pumped to see this man go. And honest to God, right now he could just jump on the regional scene and probably smoke a few fools with 6 months of training. I wouldn't be surprised. Guys, let me know in the comments below who you think would be good crossovers to see in the UFC. Is there any celebrity you guys want to see? I know someone's going to be out there and they're going to say Al Pacino or Robert De Niro. Robert De Niro has some of the best stomps in the business, but let's be serious.